Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me on this Thursday evening in the Locker Room. I'm Alan Locher. Andy Cosferent, the former assistant coach at Navarro College, is here tonight to fill us in on season 2 of the Netflix hit docu-series Cheer and share his personal cheer journey with us as well. Andy currently serves as the president, CEO of CheerSource LLC, and is the former assistant coach of Navarro College, working alongside coach Monica Aldama on leading the incredible Navarro team to victory every chance they can. Andy is a 6-time Collegiate National Champion and former 3-time athlete Collegiate National Champion with Navarro College himself, a 2-time world champion, and a worldwide judge and speaker for the cheerleading industry. I just finished season 2, and I'm so excited Andy's here tonight to talk to us. Please welcome to the Locker Room, Andy Cosferent. Hey, Andy.
Hi, Alan. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
You're very, very welcome. My husband and I just finished the season. Quite an intense season emotionally.
Absolutely.
From everything, from just life itself, COVID, and the intensity of the sport.
Yep.
Can you tell me how the docu-series initially came about?
Yeah, so it happened, it's probably about 2.5 to 3 years ago. Monica received an email, about somebody wanting to do a docu-series about our team and the program. And at first, obviously that didn't really sound real, because who would want to go to Corsicana, Texas and film this cheerleading team that, is in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and put it on Netflix and make a big docu-series about it. So, didn't really take it seriously at first, but then we ended up getting into, conversations, because why not respond to that email? And then it ended up just, going from there. And then they came down to the college, started talking to the school with everybody that was involved. And it turned out obviously being a real thing. And we are very thankful that it came to fruition and that, it happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you have ever imagined, from that email that it would turn into the success it has?
Absolutely not. I mean, it was so surreal just to think and be a part of it and see all the cameras around and everything. Less think that it was actually going to be the huge success that it became.
Yeah, so season 1 premiered on January 8th, 2020. Right. Can you describe your life, let's say 1 week before the show premiered? And how would you describe your life ever since?
So the first week of January 2020, I think I spent New Year's in Canada, in Montreal with my parents. And then actually January 7th, I was doing choreography. So I had just finished that night and I was driving back to Texas through the night. So literally it came out at 2 in the morning here because it's 12 o'clock Pacific. So I think I got home about 6 o'clock in the morning, but I was literally driving Netflix and driving through the night. So that's how I watched the first 3 episodes. And I was just in the middle of nowhere. I was so frustrated because sometimes service was bad. So we would stop, going through the episode. And we had the whole team group chat that everybody was, talking about what happened. I was like, I'm behind. Y'all are just spoiling everything for me. So, yeah, I mean, it was just another week. It was just another day traveling and doing choreography, coming back to Texas. And obviously, we knew that it was coming out the next day, that night. So we wanted to all get together to have a watch party and just all be excited. I mean, it was huge for us. We're literally on Netflix. It's not just something that happens every other day.
It's not a local Texas station.
Not at all.
Not, yeah, definitely not. When you look back on that, first month or those first few months,
Yep.
is there anything in particular that stands out in your mind?
I mean, it was a huge roller coaster. Life completely changed from that 2 a.m. start time. I mean, I remember the next day we had like 3 news stations that came to the college for interviews, and we were like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. We get to be in, Dallas news channel and like all this, go on the radio. It was amazing. And then, a few days go by and it just kept going. And we were like, wow, this is intense. And then another day went by and Monica gave me a call and she's like, hey, and I was like, hey, what's up? I was actually driving to Corsicana to meet with her. And she was like, I just talked to Netflix. I was like, okay. And she said, Ellen wants us on the show. And I mean, I didn't know what to say. I was like, there was like a good 10 seconds that it was just like silence. Like we didn't know what to do or what to say. And then we were like, is this real? Is this actually happening? So we ended up meeting about it and then talking, and we're like, when do they want us to go? And it was like in 3 days. We're like, oh, so we had to they wanted us to do performance. So we ended up having to talk to all the producers there to know what the space looked like, to be able to put some sort of performance, because obviously we couldn't use, a full floor. The ceiling wasn't that high. So we just had to, literally 2 days to put everything together. And I think that's when everything was just completely went sideways. And, from Ellen to Oprah, Good Morning America, the red carpet, the Oscars, Vanity Fair, after party and everything like that. I mean, it's just surreal still to this day, to the fact that I get to say that I was a part of some of those and was able to attend some of those. It's just an amazing experience that, it's lifetime memories and a journey that we will never forget.
I completely understand that.
Yep.
For those who haven't binged season 2 yet, how would you describe season 2?
It definitely, I like the fact that, it shows our competitors, Trinity Valley, and they go back and forth between the teams, the different styles of preparation, different styles of routine and things like that. So I think they did a really great job at that. And they still did an amazing job at going and, telling the story of people that have a story, and just being able to, truly show our sport and show that, this is what we do every day. And this is what practice really looks like. After season 1, a lot of people were asking, is this actually real? Was this just for the camera or for the TV and all this stuff? And we're like, no, this is what we do. Cameras were just there and nothing was scripted, nothing was, it was in preparation to be on camera. So I love the fact that, they went back and forth. Obviously, so they put 2 actual cheerleading years and seasons into the season 2, because you have the first 4 episodes about season 2020, and then obviously the pandemic hit the world. So we were literally 10 days away from our national championship, and the world shut down, unfortunately. So we didn't get to finalize and complete that year. And then the second part of the season is about this past season 2020, 2021.
Well, I was promoting you joining me tonight, and a lot of people were commenting how they missed you in the second half. I know you left you're running CheerSource LLC, correct? Is that?
Yeah. So me and my business partner run CheerSource together. It's a choreography and camp company for multiple sports mostly cheerleading, obviously. So, I mean, normally I travel about 250 to 300 days a year to,
Wow.
to do different programs, different teams across the world, do conferences, judging, choreography, work with kids. It's a lot, but I love the experience. I love the connections. And I also had to step away for a big production opportunity that came up that will actually be coming out pretty soon in the next week or two. So super, super pumped about that.
The announcement or the actual production will be out in the next
The announcement for it.
Okay. Very cool.
Yes. The announcement
Very
will
cool.
happen by the end of next week.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So season 2, I was really impressed. You didn't shy away from the difficulties that the team faced. COVID, the shocking allegations against Jerry, Monica's falling out with Ladarius. Can you describe how difficult all of that must have been? The allegations is one thing, and shocking to everybody because Jerry had become such a celebrity in some respect. But everybody on the team is so young, and dealing with that and dealing with, like you just said, it was 10 days away. All of that has just got to be an emotional roller coaster for these young kids.
It was definitely hard, from all aspects, mentally, physically, emotionally. The only way that we were going to get through was together. So that was, the only thing that we really had is, the person next to you to lean on and to talk to and to have each other's backs. But it was definitely hard. It's not things that we're used to deal with, and we don't, it's not like we want to deal with things like this or allegations or things like that. It's very unfortunate, everything that has happened and that came to light. It's sad. We were all heartbroken for sure.
And I think, in a lot of ways the world was, he had touched so many people in such a short period of time. There's a quote in season 2, and you may have said it. I should have written down. I don't remember, but it was somebody who said, cheerleading is not an individual sport. It is a team sport. And
Correct.
Having been on, the team yourself, can you elaborate a little on that?
I mean, it takes everyone to come together. There are competitive cheerleading involves a lot of different aspects. There's tumbling, there's jumps, there are stunts, there are basket tosses, there are pyramids. And, you can do your individual part, obviously, which you have to when it comes to tumbling, because you're responsible for your own person. Like, you have to land on your feet and you have to complete the skill on your own. But when it comes to stunting, baskets, and pyramids, it requires everyone to work together, everybody to be in sync, making sure that everybody looks alike. So, it's a process, because I'm not even talking about performances when it comes to competing, but a practice is if somebody has a bad day and they don't give their 100% or something happened and they're absent, well, that affects the whole team, because we can't do the pyramid without that person, or else, it's impossible to happen. Same thing for stunts and baskets. So it truly is a team sport, because you have to rely on someone else to do their job in order for you to be successful.
I just thought about it, you having been on Navarro yourself and winning, watching the series, the first season of Cheer, did you think it captured sort of what you experienced yourself when you were on the team?
Yes, 100%. I think, seeing all the emotions, all the hard work, all the dedication, all the sacrifices that everyone puts into the sport and into that team, it truly describes it. I moved the whole country to go and be on that team. And I left my family and moved to Texas by myself, just to be on Navarro. So, and I'm not the only one. There have been multiple people leaving their countries or coming from everywhere. And that's the beauty, I think, about college cheerleading when you get to that level, is pretty much everyone comes from everywhere. So, you don't know that person in the beginning, and you're not close to really anyone because you don't know each other. You don't know if we're going to be the best of friends in 2 months, or if, we only talk at practice. So that's the best and the worst part at the same time, because, everybody's different. So when everybody's different and they all have their own opinions, you have to slowly mold together in order to be a team. Right. But it takes a process, and it takes time to trust each other, to respect each other. So, yeah, I think I think season 1 did a great job and season 2 at portraying the process.
It really does. So I'm fascinated. I didn't realize you moved from Canada to be a part of Navarro, and it's interesting. So, how did you become familiar? Was it through basically the internet, or was it through your own coaches in Canada?
So I grew up being a gymnast, and then after I graduated high school, I was going through some injuries and things like that. So my gymnastics career just kind of finished, and a bunch of my friends wanted to join cheerleading together at the time, which I was completely against. I was like, that's not for me. I'm not doing this. But obviously they changed my mind. I ended up loving it. I cheered in Canada, in Montreal, at Flyers All-Stars for my first 3 years. And then since we went to the World Championships in Orlando, and since my first experience there, I always told myself I want to cheer in the United States at some point in my career. So I made the decision to come to Texas and go to Navarro. I sent in a tryout video. I knew some people had some connections in Texas that they told me about Navarro. At the time, I had no idea what this junior college was, or never saw one routine until they told me about it. And then I went on YouTube and looked it up, and I was like, wow, they're pretty good. Okay, that's a pretty decent team. So,
well, I sort of was asking that because, you were in Canada, and I just said, like, and you said it really, you're on Netflix, which now is seen around the world. So I'm curious to see what Navarro and Trinity and all these other teams become because of cheer,
right.
Opening eyes to kids like yourself,
Yep.
wanting to follow in your footsteps. That fascinating, because now there is just so much more reach for it. You were born in Romania but grew up in Montreal. What were you like as a child?
Terrible. So I was born in Romania. I lived in Romania until I was 12. And then my parents decided we were moving to Montreal, Canada when I was 12 years old. I grew up back in Romania. I started gymnastics in Romania. Main reason is because I was climbing every single house, tree, every single pole that you could see. There was not one thing that I had not climbed or been on top of just in the area. So my parents thought it was getting pretty dangerous because I was running out of options of climbing on top of things. So they decided to put me into gymnastics. And yeah, that's kind of what it was. So,
and then due to the injuries, your friends convinced you to do the cheerleading.
Yeah, I was a gymnast for 12 years, and I just had some wrist situations and injuries for 2 years. And I really lost 2 years of actual being a full-time athlete. And in gymnastics, that's obviously a huge amount of time. And my motivation and just mental I wasn't really into it anymore after going through all that. So I decided I was just going to be done at the time, and then ended up making the move this other direction. And yeah, I'm glad I did, and definitely wouldn't be here if it wasn't for it. So everything happens for a reason.
Well, let's take a look at you in action here. I mean, this blows me away. I mean, even in season 2, there's so much of people just doing that about what seems like to us, the viewers, 50 times, you know, in a row. Are you still doing this today?
Every now and then. Every now and then. Obviously, I'm a retired cheerleader. But you know, I'm in the gym a lot, obviously, because choreography and camps and things like that. So I will still tumble and stunt every now and then, just for fun, or yeah.
You all make it look so easy. How do you think cheerleading and gymnastics, truthfully, helped you in other ways in your daily life?
It definitely gave me personally a structure and, you know, accountability, a lot of accountability, because if you don't hold yourself accountable, either as a gymnast or as a cheerleader, then, you know, you kind of fail yourself. And if you don't follow the rules and you don't do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, then there will always be repercussions, right? So I think, you know, being as a gymnast, that's an individual sport. So most of the times you only got yourself when it comes to competing, when it comes to things like that. So if you don't do your own job, then it's not going to work out for you. And then kind of same situation, a little bit different in cheerleading, because if you don't do your part, then someone else is going to hurt, because, you know, you just hurt your team and all your teammates, and, you know, you're on the floor with them and they trust you to do your own job, and they look towards that and they have confidence. But if you don't keep yourself accountable and you're not structured into, you know, going to practice, showing up to practice, eating right, not, you know, staying up all night, getting rest and things like that, especially when you're at a high level, you know, and you have to put all these hours of training. And I mean, gymnastics is incredible. You know, gymnasts train 40 to 50 hours a week. That is absolutely insane. So yeah, you have to, you know, have a structure for sure.
What hours would you say at Navarro that you yourself trained for?
A week, we would probably do somewhere around 20.
Wow.
Something like that, about 7 practices a week. And then we would always just go in on our own extra time, like during nighttime, and just play around.
I couldn't imagine staying out late and then trying to do what you all do. That does not seem.
Yeah,
it would work well.
That's all we had at the time. You know, we only had each other. So
yeah, it doesn't seem like it would work well if you did it. You know, it doesn't seem like it would be a good thing. What do you think the most important skill is that someone, you know, if a young person was watching, what's one of the most important skills you must possess to do well in cheer?
As a tumbler, I would say this is one of the most basic skills, and also the most important one to me, in my opinion. It would be a handstand, a proper handstand technique.
Because is that when you tumble, you're going up on your hands, right?
Yeah. I mean, you know, 80% of your tumbling skills, you will end up passing through a handstand position. So, you know, if you don't have a proper handstand technique, then all the other skills that you're learning afterwards are most likely not going to have proper technique. And then, you know, that's when everything else, when you get to higher skills, it's just going to hurt yourself.
It's really incredible what you're able to do. Is there one person who has helped you most in your, you know, career, first as a gymnast and maybe then in cheer?
I would say I can't just pinpoint one person, because, you know, there are so many different stages in life. I would tell you, growing up as a gymnast, my dad was always there. We would always, you know, do extra practices at home on our pull-out couch. You know, he's the one that taught me my first back handspring. And believe me, my dad was never a gymnast in any way, shape, or form.
Wow.
We would stretch, we would condition, we would practice literally almost, I don't remember exactly, but probably every day outside of my actual practices. And, then there are definitely other people that throughout my journey, growing up and my young adult life have made a huge impact on me. And I'm very blessed and thankful to have been able to, have such amazing people in my life, and just trying to, take the best of every single person that fits me and just try to make the best version of me that I can possibly do.
When did you first meet Monica?
It was early 2012. I flew. That's when I was making the decision to move to the United States, and I flew from Montreal I flew to Houston, and 2 of my friends picked me up, and we drove to Dallas because they were having practice here. And then on our way back to Houston, we stopped at Navarro. And I went to one of their practices, just showed up. I didn't even know we were going to practice, so I didn't even bring any practice outfits. I was literally in normal shorts, outgoing, and literally shoes. I didn't even have any outfits. So, she asked me to tumble. So I took my shoes off and I tumbled in socks and, didn't change or anything. So I was like, all right. And yeah. Tumbled, did 2 or 3 tumble passes, and I was very, very nervous because the whole entire team was there just looking at me, and I was like, this is scary, very intimidating. But yeah, I'm glad I did. And then I, ended up submitting a tryout video. Obviously, I wasn't able to come in person because I was living in Montreal, so it's not that easy, to just fly in, fly out, and all that kind of stuff. So sent in a video, and then talked to Monica for some time afterwards to do all the international student applications and all that kind of stuff that you need to do,
Right, yeah.
rather than just someone that would come from high school here in the United States. And then she ended up taking me on the team.
Did you need to be convinced at all, or you really were set on going there?
I was set on going there. If I wasn't going to Navarro, I probably wouldn't have left Canada.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And can you articulate what you think you learned, most from Monica while she was coaching you?
Yeah. Monica's an amazing woman, an amazing person. She cares for you. She will help you any way that she possibly can. And she will do her best to make you the best version of yourself. She'll keep you accountable. She will make sure that you're doing well. I remember she would always, maybe not every day, but every other day, we would get a text message in the morning at 7:30 in the morning. Every single person on the team would get a message. Good morning. Make sure you get up, go to class, pay attention, don't fall asleep. And, she was taking the time out of her day and her morning to send all of us a reminder and to get up and to make sure that we were on top of our things. And, she was always, I think the biggest thing that Monica does and has always done in this last decade that I've known her is leading by example. And, you look up to her. She always, comes up to practice, or every day she's in public, she'll always be ready to go. She's always going to give her 100%, always going to listen and pay attention to whatever is thrown at her. And she's always ready. So she's an amazing woman. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it is really impressive. How do your relationship, of course, has changed over time, going from one of her students to working side by side, talk about that. What's that like? Or what was it like when you first were hired to be the assistant coach? I mean,
yeah. So after I finished I came back my 3rd year that I was an athlete and a student at Navarro. I just came back for the 2nd semester. So for the spring semester. And once I finished that, I would always, every time that I was in Dallas and I had the day off or had a little bit of time, I would always drive down and go see her, see the new team, try to help as much as I could, because truly this program changed my life. And all the memories and all the friends and everyone that I have in my life that are really close to me, there are the people that I was on a team with, so that shaped me into a better person, a bigger person. And I always wanted for all the new kids and the new athletes to experience and get that same feeling. So I would always try to help as much as I possibly could. So, I was always around. Monica and I always had a great relationship, even when I was an athlete. And then things, kind of evolved and just kept moving different directions. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, and you can see it, you really can. And it is incredible that she has done it for 26, 27 years.
I believe, since 1996.
I mean, that doesn't happen without being, the woman who she is,
Absolutely.
and helping all of you to become, like you said, the best you can, because, it just, that is she has dedicated her life to helping that team.
Absolutely.
And
every year without doubt.
You could sort of see how everyone sort of has benefited from that over the years. You are a 3-time national champion with Navarro, correct?
Yes.
What do you remember about your first time? Was your first time in Daytona to win that?
Yes. Yeah. It's definitely my favorite and best memory as a cheerleading athlete. It's just undescribable. I can't even if I tried, it's just a feeling and a realization that there's no words to describe it. It's absolutely incredible. We only compete once, so you work your butt off for an entire season for 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And, all the hard work, the blood, sweat, and tears that come through practice and, being hurt, your body is hurting, is aching, and going through an entire season, and to finally come to fruition and come on top. It just shows that, hard work does pay off, and you have to trust the process. You have to believe in yourself and believe in your leaders. It's definitely amazing. Definitely amazing.
And it's amazing to watch through the series, because that's only my, reference point to cheer, really. But just to see the little kids get inspired, so much by all of you,
right?
Monica, yourself, and you all, I think everybody takes it seriously to be, I don't know the word, sort of responsible to,
sure.
To impart, a beautiful message to the kids who are looking up to you all.
Agreed. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. How many times have you been to Daytona as a competitor and as a coach?
3 times as a competitor. I only competed in Daytona with Navarro.
And so all 3 times you won.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty amazing.
Yes. Yeah. And we had the highest score of the whole competition all of those 3 years. So that was awesome. And then I choreographed a few routines that other schools and colleges have, competed in Daytona. And then I was, I think 3 years I was there as a official assistant coach.
Wow. How did you end up doing choreography?
When I moved to Texas, I had met my partner, my business partner, Ryan, and he already owned the company at the time, and he needed it was like during the summer, and he needed some extra people to for this big camp he was doing. And I think my first camp was in Kansas City, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll help you out. He helped me out when I moved here, let me stay with him, and we became great friends and obviously now business partners. So I did it, and I actually really enjoyed it. Had a great time, teaching kids, and made great connections with them. And he liked the way that I was teaching and things like that. And then there was another camp and another camp after that. And I always like to, to think outside the box and to understand cheerleading as a whole, the entire sport, not just from an athlete point of view, but understand the rules, understand why this is how you do a specific skill. So, I just kept learning and studying and just trying to be, the best that I can possibly be, and just kept with experience, kept doing more and more choreography every year.
What does it take to sort of learn, it's not dance choreography, or is it dance? Is it dance or
a small portion of it is? Yes,
a small portion is dance.
Correct.
And the rest is
tumbling, stunts, baskets, pyramids, jumps.
So did you have to learn? How did you educate yourself to become a choreographer? I'm curious the process.
I think it's just a lot of learning and a lot of, watching videos and understanding, being able to be like, oh, that wasn't great, that was amazing. And understanding why that wasn't great, and understanding the difference between what you should do and what you shouldn't do. It's not something that you'll just get overnight, for sure. Mm-hmm. It takes experience. It takes hundreds and thousands of different routines and transitions, and to be able to, be successful and do a good quality product. So yeah, I think it's just experience and just time and effort to actually put into what you want to be great at.
Yeah. And we, watching cheer, as a viewer of cheer, we see you and Monica watching video, on your phone, recording it. Do you like to dance yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
Consider yourself a good dancer?
I would say I'm decent.
No, I mean, you're combining all of those skills together, and it's incredible. Making mat is such a focus in both seasons of cheer.
Yep.
How did you yourself handle the pressure when you were on the team?
It's scary, very scary. At the time when my first year, I think we only had maybe like 27, 28 people on the floor on the team. So, there were maybe like 7, 8 people that didn't make mat because only 20 make mat. And nowadays you have, I think in 2021, we had like 46 people on the team. So literally we had a whole entire other team that didn't make mat. So that pressure is even bigger and worse than what I experienced as an athlete. But no, it goes back to accountability. As a coach, Monica had to trust that I was going to do my job every single time we were doing that routine and making the best decisions throughout the routine in order for me to keep my spot, or else somebody else can have a shot at it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes kids and people think it comes down to just your skills, but you have a whole entire year that's taken in considerations, your attitude, your grades. That's huge. I mean, a lot of people didn't make mat or got kicked off at the team because they didn't make their grades and they weren't showing up to class and things like that. Again, accountability. You can be the best athlete in the world, but if you're in a team sport and you don't do your part and you don't go to school and you fail all your classes, you can't be on a team. You know, it's a college, it's a university. So it's all about earning the coach's trust.
It really, and it is such a discipline, and it really, I really am impressed at sort of the, life skills it really gives you. Not just
Absolutely.
not just the athleticism, talking
Right.
about everything else. I wish I, in some respect had that, to get good grades, to keep you on track, because I think that's important. How do you think your personal experience, as a student under Monica and on the team helped, you understand what the kids you were also coaching were going through?
I mean, you have to learn to know yourself. Every single person is different, right? So the approach that I may take to achieve something may be completely different than what works for you. So I think when it comes to, being good at school, or, some kids need to study for 5 hours and some don't. Some people are great at math and some are great in art. Everybody's different. So I think it's getting to know yourself and not being afraid of trying different things. I think a lot of in today's world, everybody's afraid of failure and afraid of, not achieving something right away. So therefore they're going to stick to one way, even if it may not be the best way for them. So, I think one of the most important things is it's keep trying. If you fall down, get back up, try a different thing, keep trying things until it works out for you. That's, I would say, what's one of the most important things that I try to, apply every day in everyday life. If something doesn't work out, just do it a different way. And if it doesn't work out, try something else. It will work out eventually.
And have you remained basically in Texas since moving there for Navarro?
Yes, I've always lived in Dallas, and I still do currently.
And how far is Dallas from Corsica?
Corsicana is 45 minutes.
Corsicana, 45. Oh, so they're not bad.
Not at all.
You're just in a more metropolitan city.
Yep.
That's for sure. Tell us about the new Cheer official 3D experience. That's your company created that, correct?
It's so actually Monica and I have a business venture. So the two of us worked, and we got in a partnership with Black Sleeve Media. That, after season 1 came out and everything, we ended up meeting them. They actually work a lot with Live Nation, and they do a lot of apps for concerts, for live concerts. So, they saw Cheer season 1 and they're like, oh, we should look into doing something about Cheer. So they reached out to us. We ended up getting conversations, and we're like, yeah, let's do this. This sounds awesome. So, this venture started a little bit over a year ago, and it's great. I mean, I think it's so awesome. I feel like every sport kind of has, you have FIFA, you have basketball, football, all these different sports, and cheerleading never really had a gaming venture or a gaming app that you can, create routines and compete virtually against other users. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. And it's pretty cool. We're still working on a lot of different features, getting more different tumbling skills, adding in baskets, pyramids, and things like that. So, we keep wanting to improve and making it better. We already, at first, when it first started, it was just a 2D version. So now we moved into the 3D version. So yeah, it's really awesome. I love, and I think it helps athletes and coaches. Honestly, when you create a routine, you get to like, oh, that looks really bad. We should never like that. It starts to make sense.
Because you can do it in the app.
And correct.
You can see it in the app.
Yeah. And, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of crazy. Maybe we shouldn't do that in real life. If it doesn't look good on your phone, on the app, when you create it, I think a lot of kids and a lot of, like I said, coaches, I created myself multiple routines on the app, and I mean, it was so cool because I knew how it was working. I knew where they wanted to go, and I was like, oh yeah, no, that's not gonna work out. We need to change it. So yeah, check it out. It's both for iOS and Android, and we have a lot of different fun stuff going on. There are a lot of podcasts, interviews, things like that going on, challenges. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I love all the success. That's amazing.
Thank you very much.
You were coaching kids prior to Cheer coming out in January of 2020, right?
Yes.
How have you seen the amount of kids coming out change since the show premiered?
You mean like try?
Have you been seeing more people? Cheer wasn't a sport we all knew a lot about.
Sure.
You and Navarro introduced the world.
Right. Okay, I get what you're saying.
To the sport.
I would say, I think, it wasn't huge until after the pandemic, because after the show came out, that was already in the middle of the cheerleading season, especially here in the United States and Canada. So a lot of people heard about it and started wanting to do it, but then we were all going into lockdown. But once things started opening back up, I remember talking to pretty much, all the people that I do choreography for, and pretty much every single gym owner was telling me that, their numbers went up into people trying out and people going to their gym. So, and I think it made it even bigger when it comes down to international market and international cheerleading. A lot of different countries, have seen the potential and have seen that exists. There were some countries, and probably still some countries, that have no idea what our sport is about. So obviously, I think worldwide, it showed what our sport really is about.
Yeah. Well, and I think even here in the US, a lot of us, we knew what cheering was. We knew what cheerleaders
Pom-poms.
were. But yeah, pom-poms. Exactly. That, but you had everybody glued, and you also had everybody glued at the right time. I mean, it premiered in January of 2020, and then of course, we all got locked down in March. So it definitely grew out of that.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And just before lockdown, we talked earlier about, going to the Oscars, Vanity Fair.
Yep.
Who were you most excited that you met? Who were you hoping to meet?
Man, I don't know if I can, decide who was my favorite person I met that night. Truly, it was one of the most amazing experiences I got to experience in my life. And when I remember we got there, we walked in, and people were reaching to grab us to talk to us, and we were like, is this real life? They actually know our names and they know of us. Obviously they know us, and we were like, is that who I think it is? Yes, it did. And we had an amazing night, took so many pictures.
I was just gonna say, is there a favorite picture hanging somewhere in that house?
No. But I do have him in my favorite in the folder on my phone, that I have all of those pictures. I remember the first person that when we walked in and she saw us and she just jumped at us was Sarah Paulson.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love her. Love her.
She's incredible. She was so nice and just came to us, talked to us for a little bit. And yeah, she almost seemed more excited than we were. And that was not the case. I think we were just so in shock. And
yeah, I bet.
We couldn't believe that this was actually real. I mean, we walked in and then Kim and Kanye were there just chilling next to us and having a good time. I mean, we saw obviously a lot of different people.
Yeah. I'm sure you kept pinching yourselves.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It was pretty amazing.
And I know you love fashion. Did you dress yourself?
I'm sorry?
Did you dress yourself for the Oscars?
Did. I did.
Where did your love of fashion start?
I don't know. I feel like I've always, growing up, I always liked dressing up, and I always liked to, I feel like I dress up, I'm ready to go. It just gives me that little extra energy. And, like if I'm going to be wearing sweats and a long baggy t-shirt, I feel like I don't have as much motivation, as much energy to go do whatever I need to do. But, if I actually take the time to look presentable and, look the best.
It changes your attitude.
And your mindset, 100%.
Yeah. It's funny because I've done this from home, the show almost for 2 years now because of the pandemic. And I will always, for the most part, put on pants, not just my sweats.
Yep.
Absolutely. Not for any reason. Nobody's ever seeing what's down below.
Right.
But it just makes it feel, a little more
together, more ready to go. Yeah, I 100% agree. Even it's funny, when I was an athlete, I would always dress up to go to practice. I would always wear a polo and jeans, and I'll get to practice and then go change into my practice outfit.
You were the best dressed athlete, I bet.
Yeah, and I remember all my friends were like, "Why are you dressing up?" I was like, "I don't know. I just felt like it. I'll change when I get there." But
it is interesting because I remember that at some point somebody said just even in your work environment, if you look presentable, they take you much more serious.
Agreed, for sure. And again, it's leading by example, especially when you're in the leader position, and people, you have to talk to people, you have to tell people what to do, ask them of listening and trusting you. I think it's a different approach. And
would you like to coach with Navarro again if you could make all of your jobs come together?
At this moment, like I said, I had to step away from that position for different projects, and there's just so much going on that
traveling 250 days a year is a lot.
Yeah. And that for right now, I don't want to keep adding things to my list of to do things every day, because the more you add, the more you have to spread yourself thin, and if you do, too much is not enough. So if you have too many things going on for yourself and you can't give your 100% to all of them, then you're not going to be successful in any. So, I don't want to make someone else hurt because I take too much on myself.
You can't fill all those obligations.
Right.
Yeah. You speak 4 languages.
Yes.
Tell me. English,
Romanian,
yeah,
French, and Spanish.
Wow. Do you use them all?
Yes. I wish I would use them more often, but unfortunately, Romanian, really, I only speak to my parents, or if I talk to my cousins and uncles. That's about it. I don't really know or have any Romanian friends in Dallas that we hang out in person or anything like that. I still have people back in Canada and Romania that I grew up with that we talk message wise every now and then, but it's not the same thing. You just write versus actually speaking. French, I go quite a few times to friends every year for choreography, so I use it there, and also when I go to Canada, because I
think I did see pictures of you in France that you posted.
Yeah,
one of the most beautiful cities. We're watching Emily in Paris. Really, so we can see Paris every day.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love Paris.
It's one of my favorite sayings. You strongly stand by the saying, everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
Where did that sort of enter your life?
A lot of time, not a lot of times, or I'm just speaking for myself, but we all go through ups and downs in life, right? There are always, in order to have an up, you have to have a down at some point. Or else you're just going in a straight line. You can't say you're at the peak of your mountain. And, I feel like every time that you're in a low in your life or in an experience or something happens, and once you're able to get through that and start climbing back on that hill and you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, I think that's when you start realizing and understanding, man, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that down, right? I wouldn't be able to climb if I didn't have that. And so, you know, going through everything, my journey and everything that I've, you know, achieved and done and all the different decisions that I've made, truly, to me, everything does happen for a reason. So, you know, I wouldn't be here if I didn't decide to go into cheerleading and listen to my friends that convinced me. I would have been stubborn and you're like, oh, absolutely not. That's not for me. And I don't know where I would have been, you know?
Yeah. And I do believe that as well. And I really think it's sometimes those, you know, that you could have made that decision and just not listened. And we have no idea which direction. And even, you know, in some respects, you know, looking at Jerry, you know, like one choice changes our life, all of us.
100%.
And it's, you know, that, you know, and it's easy to make, sadly, the wrong choice, but and everything does happen. You know, you're 100% right. I love your goal of visiting at least a new country every year. Love it. Have you gone anywhere yet? It's only January.
No, I have not for 2022. I was able to achieve that the last 2 years.
Where?
This last year, I went to Italy. I had never been. So
where'd you go?
To Milan.
Great city.
And the year before, I think it might have been the first time I went to France, I think 2 years ago, maybe. That should, sounds about right.
That's funny. My first, I went a very long time ago. I don't even, you were probably not born, was to Italy, was to Milan. Was my first, I've been many times since.
Yeah.
But Milan was my first trip because I had a friend who lived there. So,
but no,
Italy's great. I highly recommend you go back and see some other parts.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I actually have 2 uncles and 3 cousins that live in Milan. So I'm going to have to make this a little bit more often of a trip.
Yeah, I agree. Traveling to Europe is one of the greatest things. But you know what? I need to see our country, this country. I'd love to see more of this country.
Yeah.
Is there something you would love to do that you haven't yet achieved?
On a personal basis, I'm an adrenaline rush kind of person. So one thing that I haven't done, I do want to do is go skydiving. And I mean, it takes a long time to get there, but you know the suits that you go like skydiving, but with the suits, it's like
like the wings.
Yeah.
No thanks. I wouldn't do skydiving. My husband's done it 3 times. That's not for me.
Yeah, you actually have to jump 200 times before being allowed to do the suit dive.
And the suit is sort of just wings. You're by yourself, right? And it's like no. Wow, that's definitely, I mean, I guess I would call skydiving adrenaline.
Yeah.
That is a little more adrenaline than I think skydiving is.
Yeah.
Tell us, you mentioned you had 2 tattoos. What are your 2 tattoos?
I actually have 3. I have a big one here on my side. There are 2 hands with a rosary praying, and there's a quote that says, "Lord, forgive me for my past wrongs and future sins." I have one on this shoulder back here that says, "Everything happens for a reason."
There you go.
Yep. And it's written in Arabic, so it's beautiful. And then on my other shoulder, I have it's 3 different tattoos in one. that represent everywhere that I've lived my life. So it has the Romanian flag, the Quebec from Canada, the Quebec Fleur de Lis flag,
Yeah.
and then the Texas Lone Star. So it's like all in one.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Andy, you are a delight to speak with. You are quite a young man, successful young man. Continued. I can't wait to see what I find out next week, what you and Alan.
Yes, sir.
Here, let's smile and take a photograph. I'm going to count us down. Oh, that didn't work. 1 second. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you so much for spending the hour with me.
Absolutely.
And,
thank you.
You know, keep us posted on what you're doing. I can't wait to see what's next.
Thank you so much. Again, very thankful and blessed to have been able to do this. And
me too. Okay. Have a great evening.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you haven't watched Cheer, I encourage you all to do so. Go to Netflix tonight, binge season 1 and binge season 2. It really is incredible athleticism and spirit, and I think you'll just have a good time. Thank you to Andy Cosferent for joining me. Please join me next Wednesday evening, January 26th at 7 p.m. when Judy Shepard, Matthew Shepard's mother, joins me for Conversations with Alan. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can turn on notifications for reminders of all upcoming shows so you don't miss any. Have a great night and have a great weekend. I'll see you next week. Stay safe.